This is a great formula for have a high amount of antioxidants. This is one of my favorite teas, actually, and it really tastes really, really good. Yeah. Anyway, this is a part of a 4-part series. So we cover like how to make them, like how to make different teas and extracts and salves and creams and all kinds of things. Yeah. We have some. This is this set here. Yes, we went to Wildwood. What was it now? It was year before last, and we did a professional recording of herbal remedies, and so we've got a lot of information in here. If you couldn't keep it in your head in the last few days, well, there's more information in there than possibly what we've been covering here. So this is designed to help you in the kitchen, so it's half practical, where you can follow me along in the kitchen, and I'll tell you exactly the ingredients, what to use, and how to do it, and then what it's good for. And so someone asked me to put this on to sort of show you what it's like. So, do you want me to leave it for a minute, or shall I turn it off?
Where did you get your pots?
Where did I get my pots from? Oh yeah, these I got these online. You can get them. I think Amazon has some. Yeah. Actually, I have them in my store. They are glass, and they have a glass insert and slits at the bottom, so it slowly diffuses through the water. So you can. No, we don't have them online, but you can buy them on Amazon. I just said we have them in our store, but I didn't bring any with me. The only problem is they can easily break, and our son has broken 2 of them already. But the tea goes at the bottom, and then there's little holes at the bottom, and so you can. It's nice. It's sort of therapeutic to watch the color of the water turn nice and pretty colors. So for those who just came, we're just doing a antioxidant tea. Okay, this is really, really delicious. I don't think we have all the ingredients here. I couldn't bring my herbs with me, but it is goji berry, shashandra berry, licorice root, peppermint, bit of red clover, and it's really flavorsome. I really enjoy it. I'm sorry?
Please write for Romanian in Spanish.
Oh, I see. You want me to? Okay, so I have to learn Spanish and Russian. Okay.
So what did you? Yeah. I thought when you started it said anti-aging. Is it antioxidant?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yes. Well, it's both, because antioxidants prevent
But I mean, when I go watch the video, I want to know so I can pull it up.
Oh, it's the only one. I think it's like. I think it says anti-aging. Let me just go back to the menu.
That's what you said in there.
Anti-aging, yeah.
Okay.
But the reason it's anti-aging is because it's antioxidants. Because free radicals, they make you age. What kind of what?
What type of chemicals?
Chemicals. Good question. Well, there are things like. Okay, antioxidants cover a huge range of things. An antioxidant basically is a molecule or a plant. Actually, it's a plant substance that carries an extra electron, and the electron is donated to a free radical. So there are chemicals that carry in the outer sphere of the.
I'm a chemist.
Okay. Well, you have things like you have things like polyphenols, for example. You have isoflavins. You know, these are what I'm talking about. Antioxidants is a very broad family. All right. So that's why I mentioned, just because not everyone is a chemist. So we got to keep it simple for the folk. All right. Okay. So, all right. Maybe I'll put on, when we have a break, maybe I can put this up again for you. All right? Okay. But we have some recipes in your handouts. And yesterday we covered the salves. Okay, we have the herbal tea formulas. So you've got there Lee's anti-aging formula. The only reason I put my name in is because I didn't sort of get it from someone else. So not that I'm claiming fame to this, but you may not find it anywhere else. All right. So that's the recipe. So if you want to look at some of these teas, experiment. We've got the menopause tea, anti-aging tea, digestive tea, cancer tea, hypertension tea, adrenal, fatigue tea, sleep formula tea. We also got the elderberry in there. So, I'm sorry? I couldn't, blood sugar. Okay. Blood sugar, we don't have that one in here. I can give you a blood sugar formula. Actually, we make blood sugar formulas. Yeah, so I can give you that. Anyway, the problem is how much do you put in and how much do you leave out? Because there's so many formulas out there. But at least they'll give you a start, and I can give you some other formulas if you'd like to. Anyway, it seems like we're all here now. So why don't we have a prayer to open up this afternoon. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for your goodness, for your grace. Lord, we are thankful for this time. We've had such a wonderful time interacting with each other. We've had rich fellowship. We've had so many blessings, Lord. And I pray this knowledge will not be lost, so that when we go home, we'll quickly apply it, so that it just won't rust out, all this information, and it won't achieve the blessing that you designed. So, Father, we thank you. May your Holy Spirit be our teacher this afternoon and guide us into the things that are going to be most effective. Help us not to waste time. And Lord, we just invite your presence now in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay. All right. There's a lot to cover, and I'm going to have to talk quicker or something to cover everything. Teas, we're told in the Spirit of Prophecy that teas, a handful of herbs steeped in tea will help with many different ailments. Okay, so if you want to find out the most information Ellen White talks about herbs, it's in Selected Messages, Book 2, or Second Selected Messages, and there's about 12 pages in there. I'm not sure the exact page numbers off the top of my head. I think it's in 200 and something, and there's quite a lot of references in there to herbs. All right. And as I mentioned yesterday, you don't need to know thousands of herbs, right? You just need to know a few simple ones that are very powerful. And herbalists tend to advocate more the ones that they use the most, because we have the most experience with them. Okay, so my top 20 will be different than someone else's. But I never got a chance to really finish some of the herbs that are good for different systems. Okay, remember we talked about the skin, and we talked about digestion, we talked about the reproductive system, we talked about the immune system, right? And so I want to also, I can wipe this off, right? Okay, I want to also talk about other systems of the body that we can help. Let's do muscular. I think one of the best things you can do for muscular is arnica oil, and this is really, really good to help penetrate deep sore muscles. And another one also, which is an essential oil, which is excellent for muscles. And when I used to get injured in my previous life, before BC, before Christ, wintergreen was something we used to use for bruises and muscle injuries. And but please do not take it internally. It can kill you, so just beware of that. So those two are probably two of the best ones that I would like to mention for that. The skeletal. Now, usually our problem in America is not that we don't get enough calcium, because we get more calcium than just about anyone else, and we get more osteoporosis than anyone else. So the problem is not that we not get enough calcium. The problem is that we're losing so much calcium. All right. In fact, there are people in tribal countries in Africa, ladies who have a fifth of what we have from our calcium supply through things such as yams, and they have some of the strongest bones. And so calcium by itself is not just the answer, okay? However, stress is a big one to lose calcium, isn't it? Okay, the Western lifestyle, going under the golden arches and eating, you know what I mean by that? Okay. Yes, refined processed food. Okay, that loses calcium. Soft drinks lose calcium. All right, high acidic diet will lose calcium. Refined sugars will lose calcium. All right, too much protein, yes, you can lose calcium. And it's ironic that milk is also rich in calcium, but it also robs you of calcium. Now what can we do to build up the bone? Now, ladies in particular have a problem with this, okay? And I think one of the best things to build up bones is not herbs, but it is exercise, weight-bearing exercise, okay? But if it's related to hormonal changes, which often after menopause, we lose about 2% of bone loss a year, all right? So that's usually because of deficiency of progesterone, okay? So the progesterone goes down, okay? When progesterone goes down, bone loss goes up, all right? So sometimes what I do is I try to correct that by putting people on vitex or chasteberry. Now, you're not going to have quick results when you're trying to build the bone. It takes years to lose the bone. And so you've got to be patient. It's not going to happen overnight, okay? But if your hormones are affecting the bone loss, which is quite common after menopause, then I do recommend vitex for that. I also do recommend oat straw, which is high in calcium, but it is also high in phosphorus, and about 97% of your bone matter is made up of calcium and phosphorus. Okay, so having calcium supplementation alone is not really the best approach to improving your calcium. In fact, a lot of calcium is really it may not get absorbed and it ends up as what we call free calcium, and free calcium that's circulating in the bloodstream could cause kidney stones, bone spurs, you know, even they say 2 grams of calcium a day, 2,000 milligrams, is enough over time to cause excessive amounts of free calcium in the body, okay? So
you would recommend not taking calcium?
I wouldn't recommend
supplements and do the straw?
I wouldn't recommend taking it in that form. Just calcium by itself, all right? It is not the best way to get it in the body. Now, the body can use inorganic calcium, but it's usually when it's desperate, you know. And if you break the bone, for example, your body will increase bioavailability of calcium because there's such a need in the body. But when you have too much calcium, the body can't process it, can't deal with it properly, and you haven't got all the facilitators to help balance the calcium absorption, then you can run into problems. So, you know, I recommend get calcium other ways. And so, one of the best sources of calcium dietarily, who can tell me?
What do you think calcium?
Sesame seeds.
Okay, with sesame seeds, they have to have the shell on. All the calcium is in the shell. If it's dehulled, you will have 0 calcium. Okay, so you got to make sure it's yes.
Combination of calcium plus vitamin D.
Yes, you need. That's why I said you need everything together. It's not just vitamin D either. You need magnesium. You need manganese. You need. I mean, there's an array of nutrition that needs to be complementary with calcium absorption. So yes, this is why when God packages something, He packages it in a way that's complete. You know. It has a text that said, what God had joined together, let no man pull asunder. And I know in contextual it's talking about marriage, but the same principle you can apply to foods. And it's same with herbs, because when they pull out a derivative of herb, they pull out an active ingredient, it throws things off balance. You don't have the facilitators to help with that. It's a bit like saying all we need for evangelism is the pastor. Let's just get rid of the church members. We'll let him do all that work, okay? We will be here a long time, won't we? If that's the case, yes.
That would not help with the absorption.
Calcium citrate. Okay, I didn't want to get into all the different brands. There are multitudes of different types of calcium out there. Calcium with magnesium and calcium citrate. And there is probably over 100 different forms of calcium supplements out on the market. But all I'm saying is this. The best way to get calcium is in an organic state. Now, I'm not just talking about organic being pesticide free. I'm talking about in a state that is natural. Okay, so your foods are going to be that. You're not taking herbs necessary for calcium, okay, although there are some herbs that are very high in calcium. Okay, oat straw does have good supply of calcium. It also has a good supply of phosphorus. But that's not where it's at. Really, you got to get it from your food, okay? And if you combine high source of calcium with weight-bearing exercise, you will benefit much more. And unfortunately, we don't do a lot of weight-bearing exercise, you know. And this is really, really important, because if you don't stress your bone, it won't grow. Now, you can also have a problem with your parathyroid glands, and this is why vitamin D is also important with this, because when your vitamin D gets below 40, then your parathyroid glands get compromised, and that affects calcitonin production, that affects calcium absorption. All right, so your kidneys will suck up majority of the vitamin D, and then it gets compromised elsewhere. So your bones can miss out. So yes, your vitamin D needs to be up, exercise needs to be up, good nutritional sources of calcium, and also a decrease in stress. Wipe out refined foods before they wipe you out. And a merry heart does good like a medicine, right? But a broken spirit tries the bone. What does that mean? Do you know that's a physiological fact? That your bone gets dry under stress. Because what's in the bone? The blood, the red blood cells, white blood cells are in your bone marrow. Okay, now there's also other places, but that is a big source of them. And so it goes out, the blood goes out, especially the white blood cells, to try to fight infection, inflammation. That's resulted from stress. As I said before, stress is classed now as an inflammatory condition. And so it will...
This amazes me because stress has always existed.
Yes.
So why now? And
why now? No. It's only we're catching up with it now. We're catching up with the research to prove it. It's always happened.
It's amazing any of us
That's right. We're talking about distress. We're not talking about, you need a certain amount of stress. Stress makes you grow. If you don't stress, it's when your body can't cope. That's when it breaks down. Okay, it's not able to manage it in an effective way. I like a little bit of stress sometimes. It helps my brain to sort of sharpen up a little bit. And sometimes I have deadlines, and that puts me on a little bit of stress. being here was actually quite stressful because, not because it's, I mean, it's been a wonderful experience, but it's been one of the busiest times of my life right now to come here. And so I've got lots to do, but it's good because I have to prioritize and everything, and I'm not breaking down, and I'm not on my bed lying down thinking, how am I going to cope? So stress is good. We call it eustress when it's positive, okay? But when it's negative, it's distress. And that's what we're talking about. Yes?
An herb, I remember they asked you, an herb that might have a good source of magnesium.
Herb with a good source of magnesium.
Because
okay.
Really, it's not the calcium so much. A lot of us that have too much calcium in magnesium.
Right. That's what I said. It's a complementary. Now, with magnesium, I think one of the best ways is actually getting it through the skin than taking it by itself. But, and this is where, you know, when we go swimming, if you, and I know we don't all go swimming, but you can get through salts, you can get absorbed through your body, you can get magnesium oil, you can rub on. Green leafy vegetables are a high source of magnesium. A lot of our green leafy herbs are also high in magnesium. Yes, pretty much everything that's green has some magnesium in to a certain extent. Yes?
Quick question, what is vitex?
What is vitex?
And beeswax is confusing some people.
I'm sorry, what was that last part?
The Parkinson's and beeswax.
That was from yesterday.
Oh, that was from yesterday. Sorry, I didn't wipe that out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And what
Sorry.
is vitex?
Vitex is chaseberry. That's it there. I'm going to pass this around. Remember I discussed this before? This, look. This is the lady's best herbal friend, Vitex. I mean, if everyone knew this, look, how many, look, there's not a lady I meet nowadays that doesn't have problems with hormones in some way. And this really helps tremendously. PMS, cramping, it can help with mood swings associated with depression associated with hormonal changes that lead to mood swings. It can help with dysmenorrhea, amenorrhea, fibroids, endometriosis. It can help get you pregnant. Yes, you know, I just had a lady recently. I work with ladies that have hormonal problems, and I said to this lady, I said, just be careful with Vitex, you could get pregnant. Anyway, she contacted me a month later. She said, what do I do for pregnancy? so what's that? So now we're working with it, huh?
At any age or stage?
At any age. Well, I don't know if Sarah took this, but can you take too much? Oh yes, you can take too much of anything.
So you're saying that's what has calcium in it as well?
Oh no, this isn't about calcium. This is about hormonal regulation.
Give to the men though. Right?
Yes, you don't give it to the men. Don't give it to the men.
So if you were going to make a tea, you know, for like say 16 ounces, would you just use a teaspoon?
Okay.
Like, just give us a ballpark of where to start.
If it were me.
Yes.
Okay. We've had to experiment with this. We don't use teas anymore. We use extracts because they're more consistent for us. And so as a extract, it depends on the strength of the extract. Some go from 30 drops. Some go up to 2 teaspoons per day. And I found if it's too weak, it's not going to work very well. Okay, and now I think that's why the literature says it could take up to 6 months. We have personally found that within 2 to 4 weeks, it starts to kick in. But we use between 1 to 2 teaspoons of extract per day is what we tend to recommend. Now, as far as how much is that this is something I can't give a definitive answer on, but to be on the safe side, like 1 tablespoon in a cup of boiling water, I would, if it were me, I would start with that if that's all I had. Okay. Now you can also, we've used this both in an infusion and a decoction, and you can do that, but if you want a stronger dose, you can do a decoction. All right, and that will get more out of it. All right, but Vitex is a winner. I'm telling you, it's amazing, and we get lots of happy results with Vitex. Yes. As long as they need it. Now, I would just say this: if you're going to go on Vitex, you need to look at going on for at least 6 to 18 months. At least 6 to 18 months. Did you have a question? I don't do that. Okay, I talked to you yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before, about having a day off a week. Okay, if you have it too long, it can mess you up and you get a rebound effect. And that's what we've found. It can affect your periods. It can affect the cycle, length of cycle. So I wouldn't take a week off. Oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about when you have your period. You can stop taking it. Now, some people do that. We haven't found to be a problem doing that, but I do realize that some people advocate that. Yes?
I just had a question about hot flashes, as you were mentioning it. That you say I can regulate that then, when people say they have these hot flashes.
Oh, hot flashes, yes, yes. It can be used for hot flashes, but it depends on what's causing the hot flash. Now, most of the time it's estrogen related, and Vitex is not so much estrogenic, it's progesteronic, even though estrogen comes from progesterone. But black cohosh and red clover, they are estrogenic, and they can help more if there's a problem in that area. And sometimes you may want to combine the two. If you're not sure, you may use something like Vitex with red clover, and that's something I do as well, is I combine red clover and Vitex together. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
You were speaking of the high source of calcium. What was that? Was that those sunflowers?
Oh, I'm just saying that sunflower is probably, according to Dr. George Pampelona in the encyclopedia back there, Volume 1, Encyclopedia Foods, calcium, a high source of calcium is found in sunflower seeds.
Okay.
Sorry, sesame seeds, isn't it?
Oh, sesame.
Is it sesame or sunflower?
That has high calcium?
I know both have calcium.
Sesame.
It's sesame, yeah. I think it's sesame seed, yes. That's right. So, yes, because of the husks. But you have to have the husks, otherwise no calcium. So you get tahini, and that could either be hulled or non-hulled.
Okay.
So if it has a shell on it, it's a little bit more bitter. But that's the one that's going to be high in calcium.
And you can make that with sesame milk, and that is
You
extremely
can.
good.
Yeah, and you only need 100 grams, gives you 1,000 milligrams of calcium. All right. And we don't need as much calcium as, you know these RDAs? They're often higher than the actual amount we need. So I wouldn't worry about that if you don't get exactly what they suggest. Okay. Let's have a look at the... okay, we do the nervous system. Now, someone mentioned yesterday to me, what is good for brain, what is good for memory. We make a memory formula. The only problem is some people forget to take it. And so if anyone orders memory formula, I always get the payment first. But anyway, it is very good for you if you take ginkgo biloba. Okay. hang on, I was putting the K and the G back to front. Ginkgo biloba. Okay, now, yeah, KGO. Okay, now ginkgo is one of the oldest trees, and they live thousands of years. And they grow in the United States. You can also get them in other countries like China, but they have powerful properties in there. And something they do is they increase blood supply to the brain area. They do increase systemic circulation, but specifically the brain. All right, and I think this is one of the reasons why it enhances memory function, is because anytime you accelerate blood flow to the brain, you enhance memory just as a side effect of that. I mean, you know, when you sit down for a long period of time, the brain starts slowing down, right? Because the blood slows down, oxygen slows down, nutrition slows down, all right? And so just increasing that is going to be automatically help you with brain function. So ginkgo biloba, what we also combine that with is goji kola, which helps, I believe it helps in the way of acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter in the brain, and it's one of the most used neurotransmitters. We have about 100 neurotransmitters, and goji kola helps with that. So now, I'm not saying these are going to reverse Alzheimer's, reverse Parkinson's disease, but if someone has cognitive problems, these are some of the best herbs that you can take for that. Okay, now, with acetylcholine, it's a neurotransmitter of the brain. Now, I'll just add, going back to ginkgo, ginkgo is often used with a lot of herbal remedies simply because it helps the body to increase the bioavailability of that herb better if you add ginkgo. And just the fact that it's accelerating blood circulation, it enables the body to use that herb more effectively. So ginkgo is often used in a lot of herb formulas, even though it may not be directly related with some of the things that we have mentioned about it. Rosemary. In some places in Europe, students before big tests, they will smell rosemary oil, just the oil. They've done double-blind studies on this showing that rosemary oil has a great effect of memory enhancement than a placebo effect. So I use these three, and then I also use the cayenne. Am I spelling this right here? Cayenne. Is that right? Doesn't. Where? E. Ah, E. Here we go. It just didn't look right. That looks better. Okay. Cayenne pepper. And cayenne and ginkgo enhance bioavailability of herbs just generally. They're very good for that. And ginger is another one that I use. And as I mentioned before, ginger is one of the most powerful herbs. It's the most common herb that people use. It's anti-inflammatory. It's great for producing sweat. And this is one of the reasons I added it to my elderberry formula, because often we get colds and flu, we got congestion, and so it's a natural diaphoretic. It will help you to sweat, and that's releasing toxins, and it enables you to, yes?
What's the difference, I'm a bit confused with this, what's the difference between cayenne pepper and black pepper, white pepper?
Oh, okay, yeah. All right, well, cayenne pepper, it doesn't, okay, now, there may be some people that disagree with this, so I'm just saying this isn't universally accepted in Adventism, but black pepper is an irritant to the stomach. I've never found anywhere online that cayenne pepper is an irritant to the stomach unless you take it in large amounts. If you're taking it maybe with you've got some type of peptic ulcer, they don't usually recommend you take cayenne, or it's too hot, you know. So I don't. Okay, this is just my opinion. Okay, I don't generally recommend cayenne pepper as a condiment, but I do recommend it as a medicine. Okay. And I just can't gainsay the results of cayenne. But with black pepper, I have a different stance on that. Even though it's got some powerful properties in it, it's one of the highest in antioxidants, is black pepper. But it does appear to be a stomach irritant, and it does appear to irritate the gastric mucosa, even in small amounts. So now some people use black pepper, and black pepper is a seed. It's if you just Google a picture of black pepper, you'll see the difference between a cayenne pepper, which is a long, you know, usually long red. They have different colors, but the pepper is a seed. The white pepper is just the black pepper with the shell off. That's all it is. Okay. And some people use black pepper in combination with turmeric. You've heard about that, right? And no, let me back up on that. I didn't say that correctly. Some people use black pepper. Well, they do use it in combination with turmeric, but they also use it with curcumin. Now sometimes we think turmeric and curcumin is the same, but it's not technically. Here's turmeric. By the way, a lot of turmeric is radiated. I don't get radiated turmeric. Yeah, the powder.
If it's organic, is it?
No, it shouldn't be radiated. Turmeric is an anti-inflammatory. It's got a lot of powerful properties, but what they've done is they've taken the curcumin out of the turmeric. Okay, now the curcumin is an active ingredient of turmeric, but it's one of many. In fact, you can get turmeric that does not have the curcumin, and it's still anti-inflammatory. Okay, sometimes we say this is the active ingredient, and then we find out later, no, there's many other ingredients that were sort of sidelined, and they have just as powerful effect. So if you take a curcumin, then the curcumin, which is only one part, it's not the whole turmeric, right? When you put it in the body, the liver degrades it within like 20 minutes. It breaks it down and it gets out the bloodstream. So how do you stop that from happening? Is you take black pepper, and black pepper has a chemical called piperine in it, and piperine causes the liver to suspend degradation of the curcumin. All right, and that means the curcumin's in your bloodstream longer. Well, here's the thing: if you take the turmeric, you don't need to take black pepper. Okay, now it is fat soluble, and you can use it with coconut. It works better with coconut or some type of fat soluble substance. But it works just as good as the whole thing than it does the active ingredient. Right? Yeah, just take the turmeric by itself. You see, man can never improve on God's plan. There is a war going on right now. Who's got the best turmeric? Who's got the most powerful turmeric?
There must be a best way to take turmeric than in a powder form. So
well, you can. I buy also the slices. We make extracts out of the slices, but powder. You can. There are benefits to. There are ways you can apply the powder. Okay, for example, you can add it to your rice. You can add it to vegetables. You could eat it that way. That's fine. Some people mix it up in their smoothies. Some people use it in a drink. and most people take it in a capsule. That's how most people take it. And if that's the only way you can take it, it's still going to have some benefit. But we just use turmeric extracts now, and it's so much quicker. As I said, extracts and teas are the best ways to get it in the system quickly. And as we get older, we get less hydrochloric acid production, right? Yeah. Which means that our stomach is less efficient at handling, breaking down pills and tablets. We need, you know why God did it that way? Why did God give us less acid as we get older?
So you don't take
So you don't take a bunch of pills. I thought you were going to give me the answer there. So we don't take a lot of food. We don't need it, you see?
You get less food, just like when a child.
Yeah, that's right.
Go back to that.
Yeah, that's right. Someone had a question. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what would you recommend for persons who
I'm sorry?
What would you recommend for persons who have been exposed to mold?
To mold,
A long period of time.
like black mold. Okay, yeah, this is a difficult one, and that will probably get into my next subject. Okay, I'll tell you what, can I finish this and I'll cover it right in the next one? How's that? Okay, just so otherwise I'll lose my train of thought here. Just for the fact of helping the nervous system, the oat straw is very good for the nerves and feeding the nerves, and so I highly recommend that for nervous exhaustion. This is what saved my wife after 6 years of exhaustion. That was the only thing that helped with that. So nerve feeders, we call them nervines, okay, things that help with the nerves, relax the nerves. There's certain herbs that can help relax for sleep, like passion flower, skullcap, those things that help relax the nerves. All right, so there are other things too, but you know, we can just keep going. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have wiped that off. Okay. Let's just cover a little bit on the liver, even though it's not a system, it's sort of part of the digestive system, but it's really part of the immune system. It's a multiple system organ system, but it's really important if you're looking at mold. Okay, the liver is going to be suffering with mold. Okay. When the liver is suffering, the immune system gets extra burden. Okay, so one of the best things for the liver, now I'm not saying this is the only thing, because we need to strengthen the immune system, also the respiratory system gets affected, and the blood, we need to clean that. But one of the best things for the liver is milk thistle seed. Okay, milk thistle seed. And seed, yeah. Let's see. Here we go. Here's some milk thistle seed. We'll pass that around. And this is excellent to aid liver detoxification, for inflammation. It helps increase bile flow. It just helps the liver to be able to, if it's enlarged, it can reduce the size of the liver. Because it's dealing with inflammation.
You're drinking that. If you make this tea, should you just use that? Can you use multiple teas?
All right, I'm going to give you, did I give you a liver formula? I don't think I give you a liver formula. What I do is I use milk thistle and I use burdock root. Burdock root. Okay. Then I use yellow dock. Yellow dog, that's also a root. And then I use licorice. Licorice is very good for the liver. not the black, not the candy. Okay, licorice root. And I know this one isn't really generally recommended, but it is good for the liver. And it's peppermint. And the reason I use peppermint is not because it's the best herb for the liver, but it's nice to mask the flavor. All right, because when you get all these roots together, they don't. Sometimes it can taste like there's death in the pot, if you know what I mean. So we gotta sort of flavor things up a bit. And just keep that in mind. If you're making something and you get a Back to Eden book, for example, and gives you a recipe, and then you start making it, and then you're so excited, you've made your first tea, and you give it to everyone, and they're not too excited about it. You want to add your flavors, okay? Because you want to use this again, okay? And keep your friends happy. So just use them aromatic herbs. Licorice is also a good one. It does help with that. Licorice adds a little sweetener, but it's also a little bitter, but it's 50 times sweeter than sugar. And so it has a nice flavor to it, and the peppermint can mask that. Now if you want, what you can do is you can put all these together, and let me see. Okay, I'm going to put a number above them, and then the number is going to be indicative of parts, okay? All right, so you make the amount according to how much you want, but at least this gives you a rough idea. So I'll use two parts of milk thistle seed, 1 part of burdock root, 1 part of yellow dock, 1 part of licorice, and peppermint. Well, that will vary, but I think you could use 1 part with that, depending on how strong you like it. All right, so you want more milk thistle seed, but that is a good formula for liver. Yes?
On the milk thistle seed, does it readily release its constituents? Because those seeds are so...
I know. Yeah, this is why I first decoct it, and then I also use this as an extract. Okay, but yes, you're right. They're very hard. They're very hard. Now, you can grind them up, but then you're left with, what do I do with this? And if you grind it too fine, it's hard to work that way, because it goes to the bottom and makes it all yucky and murky.
Grind it till it's cracked and not trying to grind it.
Yeah, personally, I don't ever grind it. What I do is I bring it to a boil, and then I put it in the crock pot for 2 or 3 days. And that solves all those problems with the glycerin. That's right. Yeah. And by the way, if you use things for extracts, if you can get yourself some glycerin, all right. And when I buy glycerin, I buy like 20 gallons at a time. But if you're going to use herbs quite a bit, do you want me to tell you where I get mine from? And you can. It's really cheap. It's really cheap. Okay. And glycerin. Okay. It's called Essential Depot. And make sure you get the food grade. Make sure you get food grade. One time I didn't get the food grade, and I clicked too fast on the internet, and I wasn't really paying much attention, and I ended up wasting a few $1,000s of product. So yeah, a food grade. And they also sell other things. You can buy if you want to make your own soap mixes and stuff like that, they do that. And so, and you could buy a gallon of it. In fact, you can buy two gallons. I think is the, yeah, 2 gallons works out cheaper, and the shipping, you could probably get the shipping. Actually, if you get 2 gallons, you can get free shipping. It's really good. And I think it's like something around, what is it now? Maybe $50 to $90 something dollars. Top of the list. Anyway, I'm just throwing it out there because it's in a lot of formulas. You know, you can buy immune formulas with shiitake in there. But these are excellent. Also, Pardiaco. Pardiaco is very good, and a lot of people use Pardiaco for cancer prevention. In fact, I use it in my prostate formula. I use Pardiaco with sal palmetto, and then I use some red clover. And we've had very good results with that.
Do you have sample of Pardiaco here?
Yeah, I think we do have some Pardiaco.
And what did you say that was for cancer? Oh, you're still doing these?
Yeah, here we go. This the Pardiaco. Yeah, this is for the immune system. Okay. Okay, this is for, that's just for prostate. Sal palmetto, S-A-L. Sorry, Sol, S-A-W, that's right. Let me write it up. Palmetto. Okay, and that's really a berry. Well, it's the Pardiaco is it's like a bark, and this reduces inflammation of the prostate. It's particularly excellent for prostate. So, if you've got any prostate enlargement, men, take sal palmetto. It's phenomenal. And so, the other one I used with that was red clover.
You combine those.
And I combine them in equal parts to make a prostate formula. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And I found the glycerin.
You found the glycerin?
For $25 on sale.
There you go. $25. Get it now. All right. Essential Depot. Is that including shipping? That wouldn't be including shipping, I'm sure.
Okay, but now you were saying those three.
Yes, those three in
Not
equal.
those other three.
That's right. Yes. In fact, yeah. There's nothing I found that takes away the taste of Golden Seal. And so Golden Seal is extremely strong. Sometimes you may want to dilute it a little bit, not have it as the primary ingredient. But you can buy echinacea with Golden Seal. Some people do equal parts, Golden Seal to echinacea. And in fact, a lot of the immune formulas have those two in them. They'll sell them with equal parts echinacea, Golden Seal together.
Actually put it in a capsule.
Yeah. Right.
Hi.
Okay.
The salt, palmetto, and the red clover as a yeah.
Can you take it?
You don't have a prostate problem.
You could, you could take it. Yeah. Prevention is where it's at, isn't it? It's better to avoid a hole than know there's a ladder in the bottom of it. So definitely, yes. Okay, let's respiratory. Okay, we got the mullein. Mullein leaf. The mullein leaf is really good for, like if you got asthma, for example, or you've got bronchial, allergies, coughs, or bronchitis. Mullein is excellent for that. Make sure you don't take the seed. The seed is poisonous, but the leaf, you can make an infusion out of that leaf. And you can use this for COPD conditions. All right. Mullein leaf. All right. Now, sometimes you can also use the essential oils. So you may want to use the pine, the eucalyptus, the cedar, and that really opens up the bronchioles. Mullein is pretty safe herb to take, and you can just make that tea if you're starting to get a little bit of asthma and you just want to use a herbal agent. The mullein is good. Also, elderberry is also used for the respiratory system as well. So that's another good thing if you want to take the immune formula, and you don't just take it for colds. You could take it also for the respiratory system.
And nettle.
Oh, and nettle, yes. Nettle is excellent for allergies. Nettle and burdock root, the two. Is what? Oregano? I'm reluctant. Okay, the oil, as far as breathing it in, I would encourage you to do that, but I wouldn't take it internally. Oregano is very strong. It's very, very strong oil, and even a drop can. No, I wouldn't take it internally. Look, I know this smacks against a lot of websites, and but the people, there's a big difference between people who recommend it, who are trying to sell essential oils, and people who are aromatherapists or professionals or chemists that really know, how these things work. Oh yes, you can drink oregano as a tea. Yeah, no problem. The leaf as a tea. Thyme. Oh yes, thyme. Yes. Again, I'm not putting everything up here with each system because there's too many, but I'm just giving you some of the best. But yes, thyme is. In fact, I used to use thyme oil in my with my elderberry. That was the essential oil before I knew any better, and so I started taking it out. But you can use the leaf. You could combine the thyme with the elderberry and the
So how do you use the
mullein if you want.
You take the thyme.
You take the leaf.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
What?
it just takes a little time to make it. But you get it. Yeah, you just get the leaf and you infuse it. Yeah, about 5 or 6 minutes. But if you had, if I had asthma, and it wasn't serious asthma, it's not like life-threatening, then I would go, if I had to go with one, I'd go with the mullein. Okay.
So what, you make a tea or coffee?
Make a tea out of it. Yeah. So, now you only need about 6 minutes, 5-6 minutes. So you get hot boiling water and infuse it, about a tablespoon of mullein to 1 cup of water, and then just drink it down.
So
And
can you recommend that for my granddaughter? She's 5. She has often heart attack.
look, as I say, if it's not serious, I realize that some asthma can be pretty serious, and I grew up with asthma, so I know what it's like to breathe through a straw. But I only get asthma now with grass cuttings, and it takes a long time. But I haven't. And someone asked me this yesterday. They said, "What can you do to get rid of asthma for good?" I'll be honest with you. I don't know anything that will get rid of it for good, but it's helpful to relieve symptoms. All right. I was going to mention something. That's right. You can also use cayenne, a little cayenne pepper, with the mullein. And the cayenne is also a vasodilator, and cayenne, believe it or not, is good for coughs. And now if you aspirate it, you're going to be coughing. But if you put a little bit in the tea, it could help you because it's also a vasodilator, bronchial dilator, should I say. So it can help with that. All right. It is vasodilator, but it's a specific also in helping the bronchioles. Okay.
Cardiovascular?
Cardiovascular. Thank you. If you go to any health food store, you'll find hawthorn berries in pretty much every concoction. Hawthorn. Has it got an E on the end? Hawthorn.
It does.
It does. Okay. Okay, I didn't know if it does or not. Here we go. Hawthorn berry. Okay. Well, that is a vasodilator. It helps with nitric oxide production. It has natural calcium channel blockers. It also improves left myocardial contraction and it increases cardiac output. It's also a natural diuretic, and so it helps in so many fronts. Hawthorn berry. It's, in spite of what some people may say, it's a pretty safe herb to take. It's a pretty safe herb to take. Now, it acts a bit like nitroglycerin. That's what it's trying to do, is trying to improve the contractive power of the...
It does not have a note.
What's it? It doesn't have an E? Okay.
I knew it didn't because I was working.
All right. Thank you for that. So it acts similar in the sense of its pumping. It's increasing the pumping mechanism. And so people use it for heart failure. Some people use it if they've got, enlarged hearts, or they've just got a problem getting circulation throughout their body. And you know that memory aid formula I put up there with the ginkgo and the gochujang and everything like that, the ginger and the cayenne, that's really good for the cardio as well, because that's increasing circulation. And my wife uses it when she gets cold hands and feet. She just uses that and it just warms them up. So the memory formula, because it's got the diaphoretic herbs in there like ginger, it's got the cayenne in there, and the ginkgo, which all help with circulation. So why don't we take a break, 15-minute break, and I think you need some circulation. So we'll stop there. We'll come back in about 15 minutes. I got to rush off right now, but I will be back soon. Okay. Excuse me. I don't think so. Oh yes, yeah, we could get some cups ready. Yeah, that'd be good. Oh, hi, how you doing? Sorry. Okay, thanks. How you doing?
Yes.
It is on?
The speaker on.
The speaker's on? It says off here. I don't know.
It's off.
It's off? Okay, let me... there we go. I think we're on now. You should be on now. You getting me? Are you picking it up? Okay. All right, it's recording me. It looks the volume's on, so okay. All right, now what we can do next is go over some of the... I'm going to wipe this. Oh yes, there's so many of them.
Another one.
Yes.
That's one we use there, hawthornberry.
Yep. What we're going to do is go over some of the major conditions that people have, okay? So let's say someone was here earlier, I'm not sure if they're here right now, but they mentioned about diabetes. Diabetes. Now, I just want to say this. Herbs do not have the same capacity to have profound effects as, I would say, lifestyle, exercise, and diet. Okay, so to me they're the most important. Okay, but if you want to use some things to help with that botanically, we use Gymnema sylvestri is his last name, but just think of Gymnema. And we also use fenugreek, which some of you ladies will know what else that is good for. Nursing, milk production. Yep. Fenugreek is a very good herb for blood sugar because it has a chemical in it called 4-hydroxyisoleucine, which stimulates the pancreas to produce more insulin. All right, and so I didn't think you could actually produce more beta cells. I thought once they're dead, they're gone. But apparently there's some research out there showing that it can actually produce beta cells. So, or cause the production, stimulate the production, should I say, of beta cells. So, it also has a mucilaginous substance that coats the intestine, the top of the intestine, the duodenum, and it slows down transit time of sugar. Okay, so if you slow down transit time of sugar, you can potentially lower or steady the sugar that is released into the bloodstream. So, fenugreek is excellent for that. Now this is the seed, okay, the seed, and then another one is bitter melon. Bitter melon. Okay, now bitter things help with digestion anyhow, and this helps with insulin. So I actually put all these three together. I use all these three together. And the good thing about using bitter herbs is if you do use glycerin, it does sweeten it up a little bit. So it's not too bad. Tasty.
Melon, is it the leaf or the...
That's the fruit. The fruit, yeah. That's what I use, is the fruit. I mean... Insulin production? Huh? Okay, we're talking about, yes, insulin. We're talking about diabetes here. All right, now, I can't say it's going to reverse diabetes, but it could just help, assist, okay?
As long as you have a lifestyle.
Yes, yes. I used to teach diabetes for Wildwood, and I always emphasize lifestyle. It's the primary key, okay? I'm just covering this because this is not normally covered, and we're looking directly at botanicals, okay? But absolutely, in fact, if you were to compare the two, I'd say lifestyle's a 10, the herbs were a 2. Okay? Yes.
I have experience with natural vitamins.
You have a what?
Experience with that.
Experience with?
Yeah.
Which one?
I had high blood pressure.
Okay.
I took Nutricount and kidney activator for 3 months.
Uh-huh. Okay.
But I didn't miss the day. I took it completely for 3 months.
Okay.
It's gone.
Praise the Lord.
The problem people have, when they start to take the natural medication, they feel better, they stop.
Oh, yeah.
They should continue. Until that, the doctor said, you're not diabetes anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
I was my doctor to tell me that.
Okay. Yes. Well,
it's very powerful.
Yeah, some things you need to go beyond the time limit that you just start to see results and just use them for a longer duration. But you know, I don't want people also to have the idea that you're stuck with it, you know, the rest of your life, and that you just have to be on this forever, because it's a psychological factor. Now, there's some things that you can take for a long period of time and they're totally harmless. You know, we call those nutritive tonics, okay? Like nettle is a nutritive tonic, okay? Barley green, you know, red clover, oat straw. These are all high in nutrition. So you can take those ongoingly, okay? But look, if you're getting results with sugar, if it were me, I would just keep going. I wouldn't want to risk it too much because it can be quite dangerous. Okay.
How do you prepare the fenugreek?
How do I what? Prepare it? How do you prepare it? Well, I make it into an extract.
An extract?
Yes. Yeah, well, you do a decoction first, and then you put it in a jar, and you know, it doesn't taste great. Yeah, it's true. But yeah, it really does work. I think that if people aren't getting enough results with it, it's often a case of dosage. It's just working with the dosage, okay? And that's why it's not an exact science, because people have different tolerations and they have different body weights, and sometimes it takes a little longer. Some people are more sensitive to herbs than other people. So just give it time. But if it's not working, if you're not seeing any results after a week or two, then you're doing something wrong, or you need to experiment a little bit, okay? And by that I don't mean get off all your medication and just, you know, do something that is not is jeopardizing your health. But I'm talking about, you know, maybe increasing the amount that you're taking, or you may have to use some different types of herbs as well. Yes, ma'am.
So they have to use individually or collectively?
Okay, I'm just saying what I do. This is a formula that I put these together.
Okay.
All right. You can get results by themselves, but they could. Herbs can work better if you combine them with other agents. All right. So this is a good combination. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just wondering about the bitter lemon. Growing up in Jamaica, we used it as, you know, one of those teas that we drank in the mornings. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but we did not use the fruit. We used the leaf, and it's quite bitter.
Yes, you can use the leaf.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering about using the leaves itself rather than the fruit.
You can use either, because oftentimes they have both elements in them.
Okay.
All right. Yes.
Talking about diabetes, right?
Yes.
I'm a nurse, so I see people with a lot of retinal damage, or persons with, you know, the little blood vessels at
Yes.
the eye.
Yes.
The sugar level is so high.
That's right.
I don't recommend these.
Can you recommend these? Okay. For that, I would recommend some other thing. I mean, this is to help with the sugar, okay? But with the damage, like the capillaries, these little microcapillaries in the eye, you may want to use some other herbs. For example, like bilberry. Okay, so okay, bilberry. It's the same family as the elderberry, okay, or beerberry and You know, it's in the same family. And blueberry. Same family with blueberry. Okay. And also eye bright. Eye bright. I think we have some here. Eye bright. Eye bright is probably the best known herb for eye, just generally. Yeah. It has many different conditions it can help with the eye. Okay. So if you've got inflammation in the eye, for example, you could use eye bright. Some people use eye bright for helping their visual acuity. Okay. Now another thing you could use is nettle. The reason using nettle is because it's high in vitamin A. Okay, and so that helps the rods at the back of the eye. And if you combine it with ginkgo, if you really want a good combination, you could use these four together. Okay. Bilberry, eye bright, nettle, and ginkgo. Yeah. The ginkgo will help the others to be more efficient in their work. All right.
So the
and also, any berries, by the way, any berries will help repair the capillary walls. Okay, blueberries, raspberries, blueberries, yeah, strawberries, all the berries help with capillary wall integrity. Elderberry, yes?
So that's the family to the elderberry.
Yes. This is just a bit more powerful, bilberry, for the eye. But elderberries are also good for the eye. Yes, ma'am.
So the herb itself is called eye bright?
Eye bright, that's right. Yeah. Actually, I think I saw some in the cabinet. I didn't bring any in here with me, but it's good. Now, let me get on to another big topic. Big topic. Insomnia. Okay, insomnia. Now, common herbs that we use for insomnia, things like this. This smells like dipping your socks in some garlic oil, and it's really not very nice. If I use this stuff, you know, when you cook this stuff, just make sure that, you know, you leave the windows open and some extraction fans on, because valerian smells. I'll pass it around. Now, for 5% of people, 5% of people, it causes them to it's a stimulant. It has the opposite effect. Okay. Huh? Not on you?
I take it with skull cap.
With skull cap. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's not very. Now, if you put valerian with hops.
I can smell it from over here.
Can you smell it? Okay, with hops. Sorry. Maybe we should pass it forward. Everyone should be able to. Everyone should be able to smell it by now. Okay, now. It's pretty strong stuff, but have we got hops? I think I saw hops somewhere. Yeah, this is completely wiped out. This wouldn't have any real effect on you if you took it, but they should be green hops. That's because you haven't seen them fresh. That's because you haven't seen them fresh. What's that?
She has bad dreams if she uses.
Oh, you have bad dreams? Yeah, well, you don't want to use it. No, I haven't actually. I haven't heard of that. Ellen White recommended hops. That she did. Yeah, she did recommend it for pain, inflammation. But catnip. I use catnip with my sleep for. Hey, could we have some quiet, please? You know, it's the herb. It's stimulating people. It's having the opposite effect. It should make you all quiet. It does smell pretty awful. But can I get your attention? Hops and valerian together seem to have more of a powerful effect. And so, yeah, if you're having nightmares, don't take hops. But hops is what they use for beer, but we're not fermenting it. We're not turning it into alcohol. It's got a very bitter taste. It's very good for digestion. Some people use hops for digestion. It's very bitter. So you haven't got much of a good flavor if you combine hops and valerian. It does not taste very nice. If you're trying to give it to children, you can forget trying to get them on it the second time. But valerian can have a sedative effect, okay, on your body, and hops has a chemical called lupulin. It can help slow down brainwave activity. So if you got a really wound up brain and it just, like a hard drive that won't shut off, then hops can help with that. But some people, they can get knocked out for one. Some people need 8 times the 8 tablets or 8 capsules to knock them out. Now, if you take too much hops, you could end up very groggy the next day, sort of like a hangover. So I wouldn't start with large amounts of hops. Start with small amounts, and then you can maybe double it the next day, see how that goes. Let me just tell you something about sleep herbs. If you take the minimum dose, it doesn't work, and you've given it 2 or 3 days, there's no effect, then double it is what I would do. Try it again. If it's not working, then you can double it again. And if it's not working after you've doubled it twice, then you're taking the wrong herb. Okay. So these are more for a certain class of people who maybe they got hyperactive brains and they're just overwired, and it has a sedative effect. Okay. Now some people use passion flower. Some people use skull cap. They help muscle relaxing, they help with tension, so they're helpful as well. Ellen White mentioned catnip as for sleep. Catnip is very bitter. Catnip, it doesn't taste as bad as the others. Okay, it's pretty mild. Skull cap, passion flower are pretty good. Passion flower is not bad tasting, but you want to put something in it that's a little bit sort of palatable, So this is where chamomile can come in, and chamomile is a great flavor enhancer, and it's also great for children. It helps relieve gas buildup, so it's very good if you're dealing with little children. They can't sleep because of painful indigestion, gas, and so on, and it does relax. So it's a mild herb. It's not going to have the side effects of overdosing like hops would, for example. Now, I mentioned oat straw before, but that's only for prolonged nervous exhaustion. All right, so if when you're so tired you can't sleep, that type of thing, you may want to try oat straw. Now, sometimes St. John's wort is good for sleep. And St. John's wort helps, as you know, with depression, but it also can help with sleep with people with depression, who have depression. And another one, what's the other one now? Okay, kava. Let's see, kava. It's a herb that's usually imported from Vanuatu. And if you go on WebMD, or actually all the top major medical websites, they really give kava a hard time. And the reason for that is because, and they don't mention this, but if you look actually at what happened at the time, because all the incidents of kava with liver damage happened around the same year, within the same year. And there was a batch that got contaminated, and it wasn't it wasn't the right components of the kava that were used. They used kava peelings. And it's called, you have what's called kava lactones, and that is considered the active ingredient in kava, but it has a sedative effect. It has a much better effect on anxiety than about any other medication. So if someone's highly stressed, kava's been used traditionally without any problem. Okay. The problem is that there were some reported cases of toxicity on the liver, but it was a batch that was mixed up. It was a contaminated batch, and so that caused, I think there were about 20 different cases of liver damage, and that was years ago. But since then we haven't had any problems with kava. So it got a bad rap. The kava industry went down, and it's been slowly resurrected, and today it hasn't got such a bad rap. But it's excellent for anxiety. It's
you use the bark of that, or the?
They use the root. The root. Okay.
I think they're using that in Fiji Islands for tribal
right.
rights or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the one that gives problem is also the lactone, kava lactone.
Kava lactones are the good things. They are what's causing a reduction of stress. Okay. So no, they're fine. That's what we need. That's what's helping with the kava. All right. Let's see. Consider the active constituent that's really doing a lot of good. But all the constituents in there are helping in some way. It's just that seems to be one of the major players. Okay, any questions in insomnia? No? Okay. Oh, by the way, we were going to give you a taste of licorice. Would you like some licorice now? Yeah. They'll wake you up. Yeah. All right. Hey, I'll get my my helper over here. Would you like to help Lydia? We've had this cookie for a couple of days now. Okay.
Did you add any water to that or anything
You see?
over the 2 days?
No, yeah, you don't. We didn't add it because
Totally ignored it.
it was completely covered. We didn't have much in the way of evaporation. See how dark that is now? All right, so we're gonna give you a sip, and that's really gonna give you some energy.
Which one is that?
This is licorice. Remember we did a licorice one? Yeah. So this will taste good. We'll give you some communion-sized licorice. That's about all you need anyhow. Yes, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a friend that is constipated for years.
Constipation. Okay, yeah, let's cover constipation. Okay.
I know that it's more, but this one water.
Do you know how many causes of constipation there are? Causes of constipation there are. There are over 1,000 causes of constipation. Yeah. I had one lady one time, she had constipation, and she had gone through specialist after expert after doctor, and I had to go through all the lists of things it could be. So I realized there was like over 1,000 different causes. But it could be hormonal. We usually think of water, we usually think of fiber, and they play a part. But there's so many other things that can be a factor with constipation. But I'll just give you some general herbs that could help with that, okay? Now, sometimes this can be a little too harsh, but cascara root, that can really get things moving, okay? Okay, now, psyllium seed powder.
The powder, not the husk.
Well, it's a powdered husk. You can get a powdered husk. You can get the, yes. I use the husk. Okay, let me put.
There's the whole seed powder and there's the psyllium husk.
Okay, but you can get the psyllium husk, can you?
Yes.
Yes.
Psyllium seed powder or.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. All right, yeah.
It's the only two ways I've seen it.
Psyllium husk powder. Well, it's not exactly powder, it's a bit more.
But if you get the whole seed, it's a powder.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, you can either get the powder or from the seed or the husk. So I'll put husk or seed powder. Here we go. But they work good for both sides. If you're clogged up, psyllium is helpful for that, or if you've got diarrhea. So it's very effective. Now also we use bayberry, and then Turkish rhubarb is another one. Turkish rhubarb. Okay, we have a formula we use: Turkish rhubarb, bayberry, cascara root, and you can also use some licorice, and that will also give it a nice flavor.
Is senna
because you can, huh? Senna.
Yeah.
What about it? Can you use it?
Oh yeah.
I haven't used it, but you had some results with it?
No, I'm just asking because in the hospital there is a toxin senna tablets that they gave to the patient.
Okay.
So
I tell you what henna's good for is if you want to dye your hair, you can use henna powder. Oh, senna. Sorry. I'm sorry. I need my wake up formula right now. My brain is shutting down.
Aloe vera too, but
You can use aloe vera. The only trouble is with aloe vera, it can be a little harsh if you take too much of it.
so will senna.
Yeah. Well, same with cascara. It says cascara can be pretty strong too. You want to. Licorice is a mucilaginous herb, and mucilaginous herbs are great to have a slippery. I mean, you could use slippery elm as well. You can use marshmallow root. Yes.
Do you use those individually, or do you make a blend of them?
I make a blend of them. Yeah. If you have, like, if you were just to use cascara root by itself, it can be pretty harsh. So you don't want to use them all together.
Cascara sagrada.
That's right.
That's it.
And the cascara sagara, in 10 days, will clean you completely, your colon. So, yeah, you cannot go more than that.
Yeah,
If you take 2 tablets in the morning, 2 tablets at night, so after 10 days, you have to reduce it.
Yeah.
You don't want to have diarrhea. Okay. But when you clean it completely, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't want to use these too long. Once you get going, then let nature take its course.
That's right.
Sometimes people use these colonic irrigations, and I find that they weaken. It weakens the muscles, and the body can lose the tone of its own muscles. Yeah, the peristalsis function. Yes, ma'am.
What about the anthraquinone effect?
Yes,
Because
that's right.
I went into that and didn't know.
What did you take?
I was taking aloe vera, vitex, and fennel.
Okay.
The doctor had given it to me.
Yeah.
And it was really,
Yeah.
so long time because it worked so well because I have a bad issue. And then I went and had a colonoscopy and I had melanoma.
That's why I didn't put up aloe vera up there. It can be pretty strong. Yeah. Yeah.
So can
I know. That's why with the cascara, you don't put much in there. But here's a simple treatment that you can do. If you get a glass of warm water and put 1 tablespoon of olive oil, take that at night, it can really get things moving the next day. Is it too sweet?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very sweet. No, because it's also glycerin. Glycerin by itself is sweet.
May I try one?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done. Yeah. Actually,
Is that closer up?
It's pretty strong. It's pretty strong.
And for parasites?
Oh, for parasites. Yes, for parasites. Okay.
what is this for again?
Licorice, what is licorice good for?
Yes.
Okay, well, it's helpful for the adrenal function. It's helpful as anti-inflammatory, it's antiviral, it's good for energy. It's got its own natural corticosteroids. It's if your blood pressure is too low, it will bump it up. You don't want to take it if it's too high. And it helps with better utilization of other herbs. It's demulcent. It's astringent. It's bitter. It's aromatic. It's got many different properties to it. Okay, parasites.
Can we go back to 1 tablespoon of olive oil you said at night?
1 tablespoon in a glass of warm water. That can really get things moving. Yeah. Are you having trouble?
You can't down it, that's for sure.
You can't what?
You can't just down it. It's like, because my saliva.
No. What we normally do is put it with some water and just drink it.
My saliva has to catch up with it.
Yeah. Yeah, but you have water. You just swallow it. Just mix it together. Actually, yeah, it's very, very strong. And so we tend to recommend it with a glass of water or enough water. Now this is probably stronger than most because it's licorice, and licorice is sweet anyhow. So it's super sweet. But
with the glycerin, I like it better without glycerin.
But it shouldn't make you cry or anything. So you getting too hot? Okay. Oh, that's good. Good stuff.
I wonder if that would be good to
Cure your sweet tooth. Oh yeah. Actually, what's that? Genema is good for that. Genema, yeah.
To get rid of the
Sweet. No, to help with people with sweet teeth, with a sweet tooth. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. What's the question? Do I know? Sorry, I can't hear. Could you?
Something for plants to be nice.
Plants?
Detox, I think.
detoxing cleanses.
Oh, cleanse?
No.
No? Okay.
Plants.
For plants?
Oh, some tea.
Is it the fertilizer for plants?
Oh, you mean a tea for a plant? What, to make it grow better? Listen, the less you pamper plants, the better. Now, I'm not talking about vegetables. I'm talking about medicinal plants. You know, as long as they can get water and they're in soil and proper drainage according to what they need.
Compost tea.
Compost tea. I don't worry about. Look, God does a better job without me interfering. And if you let the plant alone, it will get what it needs. And if you pamper plants too much with so much nutrition, you can destroy the plant. Yes.
My family and I were studying in our Sabbath school lesson on trees this morning, and it said the best thing for a tree is its own leaves that drop onto the ground and break down.
Exactly.
No interference, no interaction. It does it. Everything's that like.
Oh, absolutely.
That was the best.
Have you seen that film Back to Eden?
Yes.
That's one of the best videos I think I've seen on agriculture.
A lot of people don't agree. You like that one?
I mean, it's just common sense. That's what nature does. It drops. Yeah. Sorry, can we have some quiet? Because I feel like I'm just having conversations with people instead of helping everyone to hear. But look, how does nature work? When the leaves fall, it's completely recycled. It's a recycling system, okay? So the leaf falls to the ground, it gradually decomposes, it feeds the roots, and then that goes back up. So as long as you're keeping that cycle going, it's going to generate adequate nutrition. The problem is when you take away from that process, you're taking away from the soil, you're robbing the soil. And that's the problem that we have today. I used to work 20 years ago in a fruit orchard, and they're constantly having to put minerals back in because they're constantly robbing the soil. They're using chemical fertilizers. We use these NPK fertilizers, and they don't give micronutrition back to the soil. They just use 3 components. It looks good. It may grow fast, but it's robbing the soil. Do you know how long it takes to grow 1 inch of topsoil? It takes over 100 years to grow 1 inch of topsoil. Yeah.
So you like that
100 years.
because they just let the soil do its thing and just covered it and let everything decompose, right?
Yeah. Look, God takes care of nature way better than we can, right? And if you give it good organic matter, I mean, sometimes you have to assist the starting process and get a lot of things like that are decomposed, leaves and wood chips and so on. But once you've got that, you know,
It just takes care of itself.
yeah, it will take care of itself. That's great. Have you seen that film, Back to Eden? Isn't that blessing? Actually, there's a lot of there's a lot of YouTubes that you can see that man, Paul Gautsky, shares online that give you more information. And I encourage you to tap into some of those. So it's called Back to Eden. Back to Eden. You know, it's gone around the world. I think 20 million people have watched that video. 20 million people. It says Back to Eden. And you know what I like the most about that video? The man is constantly talking about Jesus. Constantly talking about Jesus. Sometimes I think, is this guy an Adventist? He made a statement one time. He said, we're coming to a time when everything that shall be shaken will be shaken. I thought, where did he get that from? Yes.
He doesn't get weeds.
What's that?
He didn't get weeds in his garden.
Well, if they do, they're from the neighbor's seed, you know. But they're easy to pull out, weeds, you know. See, in the end, we go back to the beginning, right? And we're going back to the garden. In heaven, we'll be garden. That's our main occupation.
That's true.
And when we cut ourselves off from the garden, we're cutting ourselves off from learning about our Maker. We're cutting ourselves off. There's so many things. I wish I could go to these agriculture classes, but you really ought to get something going if you haven't already. And with herbs, you don't need a lot of space to grow a few herbs. I mean, you can grow probably in 100 square feet pretty much what you need as far as herbs, medicinal herbs. So get yourself something like a comfrey plant, aloe vera. Get yourself some culinary herbs like basil, thyme, parsley, rosemary. Get yourself some things like you could, I don't know what it's like with the soil. It's a pretty humid environment, isn't it, Alabama? I think you can grow most herbs still here, but if you've got like even if you haven't got a garden, okay, let's say you haven't got a garden, you can even grow herbs inside your house. Did you know that?
Tell us more.
You can even get these, have you seen those towers? You can even get these towers in your house that you can put plants in, and you can have greens all year round. I've got a friend who makes them actually, and he has lettuces, like 24 lettuces a month in one tube. Yeah, and you can grow parsley, you can grow strawberries. Yeah, it's amazing what you can grow. There is a guy, he's growing, and he's making about $100,000 every year on gardening on 1/3 of an acre. 1/3 of an acre.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's using every part of the soil. Yeah. So you don't need acres of land. If you really, I mean, you just use what you have. Ellen White says that there is riches like gold in the soil if we only knew how to tap into it. That man Paul Gautsky said, my biggest problem is I have too much. I have to constantly be giving it away. Isn't that a good problem to have?
Yes.
It's a great problem. Okay, someone mentioned parasites. Garlic. Now, I don't generally recommend clove, okay, because it can be toxic. It has eugenol in it that is somewhat toxic, and you don't want to swallow essential oil from clove, okay? I remember one time I went to a dentist and I wanted to try getting a filling without any anesthetic. So I took some clove oil. Now I'm not saying do this, okay? I'm not saying, but Why? Okay, because everyone has different toleration of pain. But and I put some on the nerve, on my tooth, and I've still felt the pain. It was still there, and I think the dentist felt sorry for me. He said, "You sure you want to do this?" But I'm sure it would have hurt a lot more. But in bad tooth pain, you could put a little dab of clove oil, but it has to be directly on the nerve, and you don't want to swallow it. Okay, but clove is helpful for parasites. Clove, garlic, and also black walnut. Now, if you have these combined, you'll kill the adults, the larvae, and the eggs. No, I'm talking about you make it into an extract. So we're not using clove essential oil in this recipe. Okay, you're just using the clove. You use black walnut hulls, okay, and garlic, and you can make an extract out of this, okay?
So it kills the adult?
Kills the adult, the larvae, and the eggs.
But you're not using dry garlic, right? Are you using dry garlic or?
Yeah, you can use dried or fresh. Yeah. Now the thing with garlic is, let me tell you about. Some people use garlic oil. You know, like an infused oil, where you get the garlic, you put it in the oil, and you infuse it. Okay. You don't want to use that more than a week, because you can end up with what's it called now? It's botulism. Botulism. Yeah.
And if it's refrigerated?
Yes, even if it's refrigerated, you can end up with botulism. So don't take it more than a week if you're using garlic oil. But you can make this in the crock pot, just like I shared with you before about making the extract. You can combine these three, and if you go into the mission field, some third world country, I tell you what, it's inevitable if you're going to stay there for a long period of time that you're going to have some parasitic infection.
What about chlorophyll?
What about chlorophyll? What's your question?
Make chlorophyll with plant, you know?
Is it good for parasites? Is that what you're asking?
No. Where do you use it? Do you use chlorophyll?
Well, all the green plants have chlorophyll in them. Yeah, it's excellent. It's chlorophyll is a blood purifier. It actually deodorizes the air. You know, plants clean the air.
Yes.
It's amazing. In fact, a plant can detoxify some of the chemicals. Just having an indoor plant. I like these rubber plants. You seen those rubber plants?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Rubber plants. Rubber. Yeah. And they have big leaves, and they can purify the air. You've got like formaldehyde coming off your carpets, and all these chemicals in the air. And plants can help detoxify the air. And so, if it wasn't for plants, we'd be in a lot worse shape than we are. Not just as giving us oxygen, but also cleaning our environment. Plants are great for that.
So the black walnuts are the walnuts itself?
Yes, the walnut shells. Now, you can also use the walnut shell to clean your teeth. It makes one of the best whitening toothpaste. Like charcoal.
Is it the husk?
The husk, yes. The husk. Yes.
Not the hull. It's the husk. I've been trying to pick this straight.
Yeah, it's, the shell. That's what they use.
There's a husk and then the shell that's around it.
Well, you take the outer off, and then that's the inner one. Yeah, it's the part around the seed is what you're using. That's what you can make into a decoction. But the problem is when you use it, it's so big you may want to grind it up a little bit so that you can get it into a jar. And you know, the smaller you make the particles, and I'm not saying you make it into powder, but when you chop it up a little bit, you increase the surface area, and so that helps you to extract better. Okay, now, what other diseases would you like me to cover? What's that? Fungus. Fungus, okay. Okay, like athlete's foot, candida, that type of thing? Okay. Again, you want to go back to the immune system. Do you know about 90% of diabetics have candida? Yes. Yeah, because the immune system is suppressed. So the best way, and plus you got high elevation of sugar, right? So if you can control the sugar and you can improve the immune system, you can destroy the fungus. Okay, so that's the key, is to improve the immune system. So the immune enhancing herbs that I mentioned before, those are what I would recommend. Lifestyle is the key as well. And do you know 20% of diabetics are not overweight? Did you know that? Yeah. So how do they get diabetes? I'm talking type 2.
Lifestyle.
I'm not talking about plants. I'm not talking about their diet. Stress. Yes.
Some know they're real
stress. Yes, that's true. But stress is the biggest factor, because stress causes an elevation of the stress hormones that leads to the sugar being released. So when you're stressed, you're constantly dumping sugar into the bloodstream, because sugar is needed for that fight or flight response. All right? So you need to work on reducing that stress. So for fungus, immune enhancing, lowering the stress, lowering the sugar, eating a plant-based diet, that's the keys for fungus.
Cancer?
Cancer. Okay, cancer. Cancer is a hard one, because it's different types of cancer, and there's different herbs used for different types of cancer. It becomes progressively harder to help cancer the further along it goes, and sometimes I recommend people even get surgery if it's at the point of metastasizing. I don't want to mess around, but for the most part, cancer, pretty much all cancer, I'd say, is preventable, unless you're working in a radiation plant or some environmental factors that are outside your control. But what I do with cancer is I try to encourage people to go on a plant-based diet. I try to give them high amounts of nutrition. So I recommend things that are the botanicals that are high in nutrition as well as their diet. So I'd recommend like nettle. I recommend even things like red clover. Now, some people would say, "Hey, that's wrong, because red clover has estrogen, and you've got breast cancer ladies that are high in estrogen, and so that will make it worse." Well, here's what they don't say. There's different types of estrogen. Not all estrogen is created equal, and the phytoestrogens work differently. They operate differently in character, in function, and instead of raising the estrogen, they can help modulate the estrogen. Okay, so if it's too high, it can help reduce it. So I'm not afraid of using red clover. At the same time, I have to bring to people's attention that this is not conventional. You know, this is not what is taught on the medical scene, because they'll advocate don't use it. And if the person's sensitive, I'll say don't use it, because if their mind thinks it's going to hurt them, then it will hurt them. And sometimes you can give a wrong treatment and you can get good results, and sometimes you can give the right treatment and get the wrong results because of the mind. Sometimes it's better if people are leaning to chemotherapy, even though I don't believe in chemotherapy, sometimes it's better for them to get chemo because they have no confidence in natural remedies.
Yeah. People who have cancer, it's good for them to get maybe 2-3 weeks of carrot juice.
Carrot juice?
Yeah. And parsley. Before they get into healthy medication.
I just had, what was the other thing you mentioned? Carrot juice and what?
Parsley.
Parsley. Parsley. Now, I'm not against carrot juice or parsley. I think they're great. I would just say, and I'm not saying you're saying this or that this is where you're heading, but I would just say that some protocols have people on high amounts of juice that can actually make things worse. And here's how to make it worse. You know, you've seen programs out there, they have 3 meals a day and 8 glasses of carrot juice. You know, that to me is not a temperate program, or even just carrot juice. Do you know how many carrots it takes to make a whole glass of carrot juice?
Probably
you've juiced, right? Yeah, it takes a lot to make 2 pounds. 2 pounds of carrots to make a good 16 ounces, right?
16 ounces.
Yeah. Now, that's a lot of juice. A lot of juice. And I never recommend high amounts of juice for cancer patients, because you know, sugar can feed cancer even if it's from a juice. And you know, fiber is necessary for nutrient absorption as well, and we don't have any teeth in our stomach. Did you know that? We don't. But look, I'm not against juice. I'm not against juice, but I've seen people turn orange because of juice. And I've seen people die taking just juice.
A lot of times too, they'll lose too much weight.
And they can lose too much weight. Exactly. Exactly. But it's good to take it's good to take the parsley, good to take carrots. It's no problem, okay? And even a juice now again is no problem. I have grape juice sometimes. I have apple juice sometimes. But beware about going too far with juice, because it can have a negative effect in people. You can get too many carotenoids and people turn orange.
How about green juices like kale and green?
Listen, have you seen all these books out there, grape juice fast, and you know, there's like all these. Do you know how they work in getting people reversed from cancer? Do you know why they work? Because they're so much better than what people are having. So they improve because of contrast. That's what happens. And so you could have virtually anything: cabbage juice fast, you know, potato fast. What other things? Wheatgrass fast.
You don't hear of a liver.
Yeah, I've never heard of liver fast. Yeah, but hey, if you got an Adventist and you put them on that program, you're not going to see results if they're on a plant-based diet and they're having a good lifestyle, because the people who get the best results are often from the worst program. So if you're on the Philistine program and you go over to the grape juice fast or beetroot fast or whatever, you're going to start seeing much better results. But if you're an Adventist, you've been on a plant-based diet your whole life, and then you get cancer, don't expect to see a turnaround. But what I do with cancer is, and this is just generally, okay, I'm not saying this is for everyone, but I try to build up the blood, so blood builders. Okay, so what would be a blood builder?
Red clover.
Nettle, yep. Red clover, yes. In fact, I use all these three together in a nutritive formula. And oat straw, I use oat straw because the nettle is very high in the vitamins. The red clover is high in the phytochemistry, especially isoflavones, and the oat straw is high in the minerals.
What about
So, well, that's more for the immune system. Yeah, I'm just talking blood builders. But if you want to take barley grass, if you want to take some green formula, there's a lot of green powders out there. If you want to take moringa, barley grass, moringa. Yeah, that's a pretty good herb to take for cleaning the blood. Okay, so blood builders, liver tonics. So the liver tonic, okay, we did that before, right? You got the liver formula. So a liver tonic, immune enhancer. Okay. Now, depending on the cancer, it's dependent on the herb. All right. So there are a lot of immune enhancing herbs out there, but some are specific for certain cancers. All right. And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about like Paudiaco, astragalus. Some can also be like red clover. They can be immune enhancers with their properties too. But you could also include echinacea in that. You can include the shiitake mushroom in that. You could include the turmeric in that. In fact, turmeric is probably going to be one of my top herbs. Because it's anti-inflammatory. Okay, it's anti-inflammatory, and it is cancer is largely an inflammatory condition. It's caused by inflammation. It's not the only thing that causes cancer, but when you got cancer, it's promoted by inflammation. So turmeric is one of the big ones that I use. And sometimes I will add to that, if they're really weak, I may build up something like for the adrenal glands. Sometimes I may add something for stress because they're really stressed out. Who wouldn't get stressed with cancer, right? You know, when I used to work at the Lifestyle Center, you see cancer patients, and I tell you what, the people that do the best with cancer are the ones that don't think about it. They get their mind off the cancer and get it onto helping my other brother over here. He's in more need than I am. So when you've got a serious condition like cancer, the best thing you can do is try to help someone else. All right, any questions on that? Yes.
When you mentioned the shiitake mushroom and the turmeric, that was for blood builders as well?
Yes, well, the turmeric is not classed as a blood builder. The shiitake would be, but also it's immune enhancing. And it's the same with turmeric from the point of view not of it stimulating the immune system as much, but it's also it's dealing more with the inflammation going on in the body. Okay. No, I just was running out of room. That's why I put it up there. All right. Well, let's take a 10-minute break. And can I wipe this off the board? Yeah? Okay. We'll start again. If you'd like to take a seat. Have I got this on? Is it working? Okay, thank you. We don't have very long to go to wrap up. So we're just going to... Huh? That's okay. We're going to start now. But is there any areas of herbal medicine that you want me to cover at the end? I know we've covered a lot in diseases, we've covered a lot in systems, what herbs, what the actions are, different things like that. But do you feel comfortable that you could make something? You could make a tea, you can make a formula, you know how to make an extract, you can make a salve. Yes?
Can you do one more? Heartburn or...
Heartburn? You want me to cover heartburn?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I covered that already, didn't I? Chamomile is good for heartburn. Also, I would also use dandelion root. Calendula, no, that's not. That's topical. Well, you can take it internal, but it's not used for that purpose. I also like to use charcoal. And I'm sure you've been taught about charcoal. Have you had charcoal classes here?
Yeah.
You have? Okay, so you know all about that. And clay's another one.
Is it contraindicated to have cayenne when you have heartburn?
Is it contraindicated? Okay. That wouldn't be my number one choice. It certainly wouldn't... It could make it worse. It could make it worse. So don't take cayenne if you've got heartburn, and especially if it's very strong cayenne. At the same time, I wouldn't say it causes heartburn either.
Lemon juice is sometimes good because a lot of times people think they have too much acid, and it's that they don't have enough.
Yeah.
So lemon juice.
Yeah, lemon juice can definitely help. Also, a nice moist fermentation to the stomach can settle things down. You got to think about what is the cause of indigestion. There's so many causes, but I tell you, I find a big cause that people don't eat on time. They're not eating regularly, and that really messes up the gastric acid production. And so I would encourage you to eat on time. I've done, I don't know how many consultations with nurses, and that tends to be one of the biggest causes of indigestion. They all, they're on their feet, they can't relax when they want to, their schedule's all over the place. Yeah, and stress. Stress is another big one. For some people, major stress will cause too much acid production, and for other people it will cause a reduction of acid. It depends usually on whether it's chronic stress or acute stress, but stress has different effects on people. But that's a big one, and that's one of the reasons why we're encouraged to fast under severe stress. Or if you're in a hurry, eat less. We're told just eat less and relax rather than rush it all down. Yeah, and of course, what we eat has a lot to do with what gets digested. And also, if your mind is too sensitive, I've found this to be the case with certain individuals when they get hypersensitivity of their mind to what they eat. They're so careful about what they eat, they ends up actually hurting them because their mind is so focused on the, yeah, if the food is going to hurt you, yeah, exactly, it probably will. So if you have any anxiety about what you're eating, that certainly will make things a lot worse. And you can have the best food in the world, but if you're stressed about it, so we don't talk about things that are negative. Try to avoid things that are negative around a mealtime. Mealtime should be the most pleasant, stress-free time of the day, other than probably worship. Yes?
I don't know if it is wise, but I would like to know, imagine that right now we are going home.
Uh-huh.
Where to start? Or what would be
where to start?
Basic skill or a product? Let's say we will start with 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever.
Okay.
And to what would be the guidelines that you say? Don't forget. We saw so many other options, so many options during these 3-4 days. What would be the next step when we go home?
Well, that's up to you. That's up to what you want to achieve.
Is there any major, how to say, formula that you can use and then adapt to other sicknesses or whatever?
A major formula that you can adapt to use for almost anything? Is that what you want?
No, I would say basic formula and then you adapt to anything else.
A basic formula. Well, again, it depends on what you want to start with. You know, are you talking about nutrition?
No.
Or are you talking about but that's what I'm saying. Are you talking about herbs that relate to nutrition?
Yeah.
Are you? Yeah. Okay. So those will be your nutritive herbs.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Things that are high in nutrition. I mentioned a few of those. You know, those are like your green powders. You know, your barley greens, your superfoods, moringa, nettle, oat straw, red clover. You know, things that are high in nutrition. Okay, you can take those on a regular basis. I have a refractometer, and it can test nutrient density and see how high quality nutrition is in the food. And nearly everything I've tested it on is subpar, even organic. Which means we're not getting adequate nutrition oftentimes with the food we're eating. And I thought to myself, well, either we're getting it from the food or we got to get it from a supplement. And as time has gone on, I realized that we can get it from another source, and that is herbs. And so those are things that I would use for that nutrition side of things. And culinary herbs. Use your culinary herbs. I mentioned just a few: thyme, basil, rosemary, parsley, oregano. Those are things that are high in nutrition that you can add to your food, and you can do that on a regular basis. But I don't think I did mention it, didn't I? But if you want to, and I have a few with me. I bought these for those who are interested, but we have the series on DVD. So if you want, I'm going to be leaving here at 6:30, so I don't have a lot of time. But I do have some DVD sets if anyone is interested, and that will, if you can put up with another several hours of me talking, that will give you the recipes as you saw on the TV, and I'll show you how to make recipes for every different system of the body. And so if you want to make something for nutrition, for energy, for sleep, make a toothpaste, a salve, something for pain, something for hormones, for immune system, all different parts of the body, it's in there. And it gives you the top 20 herbs I try to keep it simple. You notice I haven't talked about hundreds of herbs. I've tried to gone over some of the major herbs so that it reinforces, so you won't go out here thinking, oh, what was that? What was herb number 932? Okay. And for those who are more serious, they want to learn more than what is on the DVDs, we have an online school with the Lay Institute of Global Health Training if you want to cover more herbal remedies. And we're also going to be putting together a comprehensive herb online school for those who want to become master herbalists. But we're not quite there yet. Yes, sir.
Infection.
Infection.
I have my sister's son has daughter.
Okay.
8 years old.
Okay.
She has
She has what?
vaginal infection.
Oh, vaginal infection. I think you mentioned that yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, I did, right?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
don't have any.
I thought I covered that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. With infection, you got to deal with immune boosters, reducing inflammation. With you get like turmeric, of course. With infection, you're gonna have inflammation.
Oh, you tell me water, right?
And
You tell me hot water.
yes, I told you hot water.
All right.
Sitz bath. So hydro can come in helpful. You know, I don't know how everyone feels about this, but sometimes we use colloidal silver. Yeah, I think it's got some validity to it. I don't think they're all created equal, so some are better than others, but that could be helpful. And immune boosting herbs are the way to go. Yes?
Sister White speaks about herbs that are, well, spices that are not so great.
That's right.
And can you sort of...
Okay, I'll give you some of the worst ones, okay? Because she wasn't dealing with all spices, okay? Some people think, well, if anything's a spice, it's detrimental. Well, what do you do with garlic? What do you do with ginger? Ginger was used by Ellen White. Cayenne is a spice. There's turmeric is really a spice as well. It's one of the best herbs out there. But the most dangerous spices that I see are things that irritate and things that affect the character. So I wouldn't recommend people take black pepper, white pepper. I wouldn't recommend, also she speaks against cinnamon. And cinnamon is an irritant, although it does have some medicinal value. I wouldn't use cloves as a food item. I know we covered it as a medicine. Also, you have nutmeg. I know a lot of people from the islands use nutmeg, and so I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but if you want to, you did ask me. Yeah. But nutmeg has a toxic alkaloid called mirastosin. And it can even produce hallucinogenic effects when you get up to 5 grams or more. And so I wouldn't use that. And mace, of course, is really the same thing as nutmeg. It's just had its mace. Yeah, mace has its shell removed. So, and mustard. Yes, mustard is an irritant, although we are encouraged to use it for like externally, hydrotherapy, putting it in a hot foot bath, that type of thing. So those are some of the main ones. I'm not saying that's the only problems, only spices that cause harm, but those tend to be the most common that people use, and that, in my opinion, are pretty irritating. Yeah. But that was a good question. Glad you asked that question. Any more questions? We got about, yes, 5 minutes left.
Antioxidants when you first started.
Antioxidants, yes?
Like when antioxidants, like the teas. The only thing I got was blueberry.
Oh, okay. Well, there is a formula in there, is there not? Or did I?
It was anti-aging. You said it was
Yeah. Yes, that is full of antioxidants. So the Shishandra berry also is very high in antioxidants. The goji berry is like a vitamin C tablet. That's high in antioxidants. Red clover is antioxidant. Now you could substitute the spearmint here for peppermint I just like the flavor a little better. But that's very high in antioxidants, that whole tea there. So try it out. I've reformed that a little bit, and I use some licorice as well in that as well. So that's in my video, but it's not actually in this paper recipe. What about what? Chronic fatigue. Chronic fatigue. Okay, I haven't mentioned chronic fatigue, but the adrenals are the main thing to work on with chronic fatigue. The adrenals and the thyroid glands. So remember I said rhodiola and ashwagandha? Those are key in building up the adrenals, and also, yes, as far as botanicals, exercise is one of the best things for adrenals. It will actually increase the size of the adrenal glands. It's really, really effective. So, and the ginseng, yes. Siberian ginseng is slow acting. Panax ginseng, American ginseng is a fast acting, but you don't want to take them too long. So if someone is really, really low, you may use that temporarily, but then you may want to transition to a slow acting Siberian ginseng. Yeah. Have we covered everyone's conditions in the room yet?
I have a lot of spearmint at home.
You have a lot of spearmint? Yes? Yeah. Mints have a lot of very good properties in. I use spearmint mainly for the flavor enhancer, I'll be honest with you. And not that it's bad for you, I mean it's got antibacterial, anti-inflammatory effects, but I use that just to make it palatable. Yeah.
The extracts, if you have more than one that you need to take, can you take them together, or you have to?
Generally, okay, you got to also think about timing. For example, let's say you're taking something that's a stimulant, you may want to you don't want to take that at night. If you're taking something for digestion, I would take it when you have indigestion rather than take it before a meal. Your calming herbs you take when you have some anxiety, or if you're trying to go to sleep, you take it an hour or so before you go to sleep if you want a calming effect. Most herbs are not a problem taking together. There are exceptions to that, but most of the time it's not a problem. But if you take an extract, just take it with a little bit of water. And take a little bit of water. And take it, usually it's taken before a meal is the better way to get. Yeah. Before a meal. Now if it's after, okay, I mentioned about after a meal if it was helping with the digestion. Okay. Yes.
I had a question, and you sort of touched on it, but I couldn't really hear you at the time.
Okay.
About if you're producing, I brought up the thing about the man that was arrested because he was making salves.
Okay.
They found some old paperwork, and that's really what got him back. Do you have a certified kitchen?
Okay, here's how, if you're going to make it, here's the thing. If you make it yourself and you're selling it, there's only one way you can go. Now every state has its own legal requirements, so you have to research what's allowed at your state. But when I was in North Carolina, I was informed from another herbalist who was doing the same thing basically, and he had an association. He had 3 visits from the FDA. The problem that he had was his website. His website created a flag for the FDA, and then they came and investigated him. But if you're making these things at home and you want to sell them, okay, and you're trying to make it as a business, then you have to work within your parameters. Now, as I say, every state is different, so you have to find out what's happening in your state. But the way around that is you can form like a co-op or an association, so you don't advertise online, and then everyone who's buying from you, they're basically part of your club. all right? They're like, you form an association. So you don't advertise online, you don't make a big noise about it. But you don't even need a health department to come in and check your facilities and everything like that. But if you're making it and selling it online to anyone, then you got to be extremely careful, and that's where you can end up crossing over the line. And it's better to get someone else to make it and then you sell it. That's just what I would say.
Give them your formulas and ask them to.
You can give them, yes, you can give them your formulas. I have, there's a company that I use that I can get them to make whatever formula I want, and they can even put my label on. But you need to really be serious to do that. It's not like you say, I want one of these and two of those. It's like you've got to be thinking big when you go that way. Otherwise, if you're starting off, if you're just trying to help some friends, some family members, then you have no problem. Yeah, it's no problem. But when you get into putting a website together, advertise online, then that becomes a whole different ball game, and that's where you can end up becoming dangerous. Now, if you go on my website, Herbal Living, you'll see there is nothing about the product except the ingredients. Okay? So, if I was to put a video on, let's say, my liver formula and tell all these stories about how it's helped this person, that person, then I'm putting a red target on my back. Okay? Yes. All right, so we just have to be careful. We don't want to step on the dragon's tail, but at the same time we do want to help people, okay? Yes. Okay, we'll make this the last question. Okay, we got 3 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna take the last 3 minutes. Okay.
Last 3 minutes on arthritis.
Last 3 minutes on arthritis?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do it in 1 minute. I'm gonna have 2 minutes left. Okay. Well, the thing that we made yesterday, the pain salve, that's excellent for arthritis. I would only add to that some wintergreen. And I would add also some cayenne infused oil. I would infuse the oil. You add it to the oil before you use the oil. That's how you do it. I didn't do that because it would take time to do that. Okay, so I leave it overnight so you can get say a pint jar, put oil, put some cayenne in there, and then you pour it off the next day, and you use that in there. But I've had tremendous results with that. Topical. Okay. Internally, look, always the best way for arthritis is internal, and taking them off whatever is causing inflammation, which is usually what they're eating. Now, of course, weight is a big problem with arthritis, so I sometimes get people, if they're too big, to do some weight-bearing exercises walking exercises in a swimming pool. But anti-inflammatories, taking anti-inflammatories, turmeric is going to be on the top of the list for that. You can also massage, use aloe vera, but essential oils are fantastic for that. Listen, I just want to spend the last minute and a half to just say thank you for coming. I've really enjoyed meeting you all. I really had a wonderful time, and I hope we can stay in touch. I've got your email addresses, so as soon as I get a spare moment, I will try to email you. And I wish you have a safe trip back home. And yes. Oh, videos. Okay. Yeah, the DVDs, we normally charge $79.95, but I'm going to sell it for $69.95. I bought 10. I think I bought about 11 with me. So if anyone wants any, we'll make those available.
And they're really good. I've watched all of them.
Oh, you watched all of them? Oh, really? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yes.
Cash or credit card?
Yes, we take whatever. Yeah, Jamaican, European. pesos, whatever.
Using a credit card, you want us to go to the window or what? No.
I have it on my phone.
Okay.
So
Can I say something?
yes, sure.
I just want to give a 30-second, which will be difficult for me, testimony. First of all, I want to thank you for this wonderful, life-saving, informative
praise the Lord.
I debated when I was thinking about coming here, which track to do. I wanted to do hydrotherapy, but because of what I'm experiencing personally, I said I need to do herbs. The first day you addressed my concern. My people know I allergies. I have been afflicted, and it has been really rough. My journey for the last 2 years has been rough. The doctor at Cleveland Clinic said, do not leave home without my antihistamine, my Benadryl. It's in my bag all times, because you don't know what's going to cause the flare. You mentioned the nettle thing, whatever. And that night, I was in the tea room making the tea. The next morning, I said, I'm gonna. Well, the day before, I was afraid. I started to go through the forest, and I turned back because I started having whatever. I was like, okay, this does not work. I have to drive. The next morning, after taking the nettle leaf, walking through the forest, the nurse here. We were going, I was starting to feel a little anxious because I'm like, are you crazy? What are you doing? You know what is going to happen. And she said, breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe. And I'm walking and I'm not feeling anything and I'm walking and I'm not swelling. I'm walking. My lip is not expanding. I'm walking. My face is not expanding. And I am just rejoicing. I'm like,
praise the Lord. Praise God.
And I did it again today. That was one dose.
Wow.
I work with persons who have allergies and hypersensitivity. I cannot wait to get home. Thank you so much.
Praise the Lord. Thank the Lord. Praise God. Praise God.
The salve as well. It was using for my sinus congestion. Overnight. Big difference. I'm able to breathe freely, and it's just awesome.
Praise the Lord. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing those testimonies. When we use natural remedies according to God's will, it produces supernatural results, right?
So, faith, believing.
Yeah, look, you don't, you by taking it, you're showing your faith, right? So,